Full that Samir is talking about, it has indeed gone viral. It has led to the return of the service charge issue. Let's discuss this with Supreme Court advocate Rekha Aggarwal, and joining her is Anurag Katriar. And of course, we are looking at developments. Anurag, of course, is the founder of Indigo Hospitality and a trustee of the NRAI. Anurag, to you first, the Department of Consumer Affairs. They've pointed out the service charge being a discretionary charge, that it should not be levied on a mandatory basis, that it should not be imposed forcefully on consumers, especially when consumers are dissatisfied with the service provided to them by the restaurant. This is what the Consumer Affairs body has said in that letter. As a restaurateur, as a trustee of a representative body of restaurateurs, how are you reacting to this letter that has been sent to the National Restaurant Association of India and, of course, to the Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Association of India?
So, thank you. Thank you for bringing this out. And let me begin by saying what happened in Noida is grossly unfortunate. I mean, that should not have happened. Whatever, there are disputes that may happen, but to get into a physical scuffle, and I'm not even talking who is at fault and who is not, there are several stories going around, but it's unfortunate. It should not have happened. Now, talking about the actual position of the issue, the fact is there is nothing illegal about service charge as long as it has been pre-informed to the customers by way of a notice or mentioned on the menu card that we do levy service charge. And this is a position that has been currently being held by the Delhi High Court also. There is a status quo on that. Yes, we have received advisories from the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, and we have taken a cognizance of it. We have made a note of it. We have sent out. We are going to be sending out an advisory tomorrow to all our members to be a little more, mindful about dealing with the things the way they have done in this case. Now, obviously, I mean, we are not here to judge, who is at fault and who is not. But the fact remains there is nothing illegal about levying service charge as long as you have been pre-informed. It's like a contract. I have told you before offering my product and service, this is what I charge. You agreed, you ordered. Then, in case of service deficiency, forget about rule. No restaurant worth its salt would like to antagonize a customer. If there is a service issue, forget about service charge. People waive off the whole bill. From what I understand, there was a 50% discount offered to this group as well, where the brawl happened, to the best of my understanding. So it's not only about the money. It's also about what. If you ask me legally, yes, we are perfectly all right to charge. But if somebody is unhappy, forget about service charge. We even waive off the bills or offer a discount. So yeah.
So let me get in that legal standpoint. As far as the legality of this letter going out to restaurateurs, Rekha Aggarwal, this is a matter in the Delhi High Court. It has turned out to be a sticky issue, and this fracas that has emerged in the National Capital Region, probably a stimulus for it. Only last year, the court stayed the Central Consumer Protection Authority's 4th July ban on unilaterally restaurants levying a service charge. The centre appealed against the court order, saying its guidelines prohibit hotels and restaurants from levying service charges automatically on food bills. So what are the points of law now that need to be deliberated upon, considering that this new letter has gone out?
See, first of all, Vikram, the matter is sub judice before the Honorable Delhi High Court, and the Delhi High Court has already passed a status quo order. So it will not be fair for me to comment upon it right now because one does not know what will be the final outcome of the case. This matter is probably going to take a couple of years before it is going to be finally decided. But now it is almost 1 year since the status quo order is in operation. Be that as it may, just as Anurag has pointed out that he has been repeatedly saying that the levy of service charge is not at all illegal or should not be treated as an objectionable charge. But I also, on the other hand, have repeatedly held my stand that the levy of service charge, even though the restaurant owners may justify levying of the service charge on the ground that, look, we have pre-informed the customer who walks inside a restaurant that, look, we are going to levy service charge. If you want to sit over here and enjoy our hospitality, you're welcome. If it doesn't suit your pocket, you may walk out. This is the basic argument that is given by all the restaurant owners. But sorry, I do not agree with that. And I think that, once the service tax and other taxes are being imposed upon the customer, the service charge should not be, should absolutely be made discretionary. And if the customer is satisfied, he or she is definitely going to tip the staff of the restaurant in any case. So the argument that is given by the restaurant owners is that the levy or service charge is more like an impetus to the staff. It is like impetus for them to work better. So I think that should be the job of the restaurant owners themselves, to keep the morale of their staff up and about, and not and the customer should not be digging into his pocket to keep the staff of the restaurant happy. I mean, doing good
Yes.
service is a part of his duty.
Yes.
And service charge should be just like a tip. So I think that as of now, the ministry has only been issuing advisories and guidelines. There
Correct.
is no rule. Until there is a rule which says that prohibition of imposing of service charge is illegal.
Yes.
As long as that is not there, the restaurants are free to do whatever they want.
But very quickly, Rekha, that's exactly what you're pointing out as well. At this point in time, restaurants are free to exercise because there is no Delhi High Court final ruling in the matter.
Yes.
In the
So
midst
they are
of this
free.
court case, we have this new letter, which is obviously in response to the stimulus of this fracas that has emerged in the National Capital Region. Is it fair for this letter to go out, is my simple question.
I think that it is absolutely fair, keeping in mind it is only an advisory. It does not have any legal sanctity. I'll be very fair about it, much as I would like, being a consumer lawyer, where I'm speaking for the benefit of consumers, and I say that the consumer is king, etc., etc. And the restaurant operators, they function only because the customer is there. If there was no customer, there would be no restaurant. So the restaurant owners are in the hospitality industry. It is a showbiz industry. They have to keep their customers happy. And I wish, instead of an advisory, and of course an advisory cannot become a rule until the Delhi High Court order is in operation. So the matter being sub judice, I think the ministry had no choice but only issue an advisory. They could not have passed a law, with the court case still being pending in the Delhi High Court. So I think that this is more like an like a silent dictate. I would call it a silent dictate, or a guideline, or a request to the restaurant owners to just go slow about imposing the service charge. Because of course the Noida case is just it's just an aberration that happened. It cannot be taken as a regular thing that happens in
Anurag,
restaurants.
how do you feel about that, about what Rekha is pointing out? Because it would seem that this kind of advisory from the government would create a potential rift between customers and restaurants. Is that actually in play right now? Do you see this?
Right now, not at play, but you're right. It has the potential to be that, because everybody doesn't understand, unlike a lawyer like Rekha ji, that what's the difference between an advisory and a rule. People don't understand that, but so far it has not played out, and I hope it doesn't. And coming to the whole thing of service charge, it's not something new. It's a global phenomenon. It's in India for last 3-4 decades, and sometimes one-off incidents happen like this, which, as I have repeatedly said, is very unfortunate. But this is something which, we are levying service charge in lakhs of numbers every day around the country. One case must be pointed out, but I think, that one-off incident like this should not be bringing about any change. Of course, the matter is sub judice. We are waiting for the final decision of the Delhi High Court.
Yes, absolutely. And that final ruling is going to be very closely watched. But I believe the Delhi High Court, Anurag, has also asked NRAI and FHRAI to consider changing the terminology of service charge to some alternative term like staff welfare charges, so that the consumers are not misled into believing that service charge is a government tax, because that has been another concern. Has that been done?
No, this was brought up by the court, that if you can use a different nomenclature. But please understand, in today's world, the only tax on a food bill is GST. There is no more service tax. So where is the confusion between service tax and service charge anymore? It was prevalent in pre-GST days. Now what you're charging is only GST. So GST and service charge, you can give it any name. You can call it a gratuity, you can call it welfare fund. Eventually, that's the idea. It's a very significant part of the earning of the restaurant workers. And you can call it whatever, but I think I don't see any merit in just changing the name and continuing with the same thing. If we are continuing the way we have continued for last 4 decades, there is no point on changing the nomenclature.
Changing the nomenclature would help at this point?
I don't know. I
Rekha,
mean, honestly,
I was just turning it to our consumer lawyer. Rekha, what do you feel?
I'm glad that Anuragji has been candid enough to say that just giving another name is not going to change the character of the charge. And it's still ultimately it is the customer who has to put his hands, dig deep into his pockets, and shell out the service charge. In any case, the service charge is levied by high-end restaurants or upper grade restaurants. It is not a dhaba which is going to charge a service charge. So when a customer is already paying a big amount, as the bill for the food that he's eating plus the GST, then I do not think it's really fair, to levy the service charge by any name whatsoever. A rose by any other rose will still remain a rose. So I think that the government should now be quick about ensuring that the advisory or the guideline takes the shape of a rule, which can be imposed pan-India, not only state-wise. It is only then that the customer will get the full benefit of the Gandhian saying that the customer is king. And the hotel industry, the hospitality industry survives because of the customers and not otherwise.
So we need uniformity in terms of application of law, and the law needs to be put down, and that is going to emerge from the courtrooms. Delhi High Court, this matter, like Rekha pointed out by saying, it is sub judice. We will keep monitoring this concern, even as we look at these events, these unfortunate events unfolding, which is clearly creating a rift between restaurants and customers, and neither of which can do without each other. Anurag, Katriar and Rekha Aggarwal, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this. We continue to monitor the situation as it develops.